I'm Brian Knox, and this is Watts Weekly. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about the pencils that we use at the school. There's primarily 3 different types, and the differences between them, and why you might choose one over the other. So, as you can see, these are the pencils. First off, we have a Conte, specifically a Conte 1710, and it is a B. We also have the Generals, which is a 4B. And then we have the Wolff's Carbon, and we got 2 of those, both a 4B and a 6B. So they're each a little bit different. Right off the bat, when you look at them, you can see that you can sharpen up the Conte to a much longer taper than you can these other 3. Primarily, that's because it's a little bit wider and the charcoal is a little bit stronger, so you can put more pressure on it than you can the others, and these, if you sharpen them up to be this length, they'll break, pretty easily, and you'll get frustrated, and it's horrible. So I would recommend not sharpening these quite as much as you do these. But the Conte is good because once you do get it sharpened up to this point, you can use it on the side of the pencil and get these really broad strokes out of it, which is awesome. And if you get good at this, you can fill in, I could probably cover this entire page in tone in less than a minute doing this. And you can see it's like a really nice, even block of tone. And that's something that you can't really do with these other pencils. So for that reason alone, almost, I would recommend this. But also, you can get a full range of value out of it, and you can do it really quickly. I can come in here and just blast in my darkest dark almost immediately and work my way out to the lightest value possible. So just out of this one pencil, I'm getting my full range of value, which is awesome and hugely convenient. So, you can get quite a bit out of a Conte if you know how to use it. And not to mention, you can get, all of the nice crisp line work also. So next up, the Generals. This is also a good pencil. I use this from time to time, not as much as I use the Conte, but I will use it quite a bit to start a drawing. And I'll do my lay-in with it and map everything and use it to get my edges established. And part of the reason for that is because you can get softer edges more quickly. So, if I come in here and I'm mapping and I'm saying, okay, we need a soft edge, I can kind of build some of this up and then hit it with my finger real quick. And the charcoal with the Generals tends to kind of float around on top of the paper a little bit more. And so we can kind of soften things up really quickly. I can come in and say, need a soft edge here, and then maybe something a little bit more firm. Maybe something that goes from soft up to firm, so we can get really soft edges in a record amount of time. And then usually I would come back in with the Conte and kind of fill this in. And the Conte and the Generals go together really well. You can layer them in really any way. You can do the Generals on top of the Conte or the Conte on top of the Generals. So you can see, they play together nicely. Can't really say the same for the Wolff's Carbon. They don't go together quite as well with the other pencils, but they're nice in and of themselves. And between the 4B and the 6B, you can get pretty much everything you need out of it. So the 4B, we can see, you can get some of those really nice crisp lines. You can do that with any of them. But the 4B won't go completely dark. It might if you spend enough time trying to build it up, but you can see it doesn't go quite as dark as these. That's where the 6B is going to come in. So to get your full range of value between these 2 pencils, you're going to have to use both the 4B and the 6B. Sometimes you might be able to get away with using just the 6B, but it requires more dexterity because it's really difficult to get the lighter values out of the 6B pencil. I'm sure you could probably do it, but it's not easy. So, I mean, that's primarily the differences between these pencils. As far as which one you like to use, it's kind of up to you. I mean, I would recommend playing around with them, buy a few of each type and see what feels the most comfortable. For me personally, I started out using the Wolff's Carbon because they're kind of the closest to how a normal pencil feels in your hand that we're all used to from, writing stuff in school. And the Conte felt a little odd because it's a little wider and a little bit heavier, and it just didn't feel quite right. So I started out with the Wolff's Carbon, and it was getting a pretty good result. But then I kept seeing Eric do these awesome demos with the Conte, and so I figured I should be able to do that too. So I kind of switched over to using the Conte, and it was frustrating at first, but eventually, my dexterity improved and I got better at it, and now I can kind of basically do the same thing. He's still better than I am, but I realize now how much versatility the Conte really has. And so between that and, maybe using the generals sometimes, I find that I get pretty much everything I need out of it. But someone like Jeff, I mean, he doesn't like the Conte much at all. He sticks mostly with the Wolff's Carbon. And I'm not entirely sure why that is, but he seems to like them. I like them too. I mean, they're good pencils. But the Conte, for me personally, is a little bit more versatile. So you can see, in fact, if I flip back, sorry, I'm not sure what this is going to look like, but if I flip back to this guy real quick, I mean, you can see this, it was done exclusively with the Conte. In fact, if you go look at my Instagram or something, I mean, every single drawing on there is done with a Conte pencil, a Conte B. So you can see, I mean, how quickly I was able to fill these areas in. I mean, this was a pretty quick drawing. Also, you get a full range of value out of it, from my darkest dark to my lightest light, kind of all in the same pencil, which is nice. And then also, you can see kind of some of the level of, I don't know, versatility that it has, because here we're going from darkest dark to really fine level of rendering, up in the chest and shoulder on here. And, I got all of that out of one pencil, which was awesome. I don't have to switch pencils. I don't have to worry about anything. I can fill it in really quick and evenly, and it just works. So for me personally, I find the Conte to be the best, but a lot of people would disagree with me. So just find what works for you, and eventually, your dexterity will develop over time, and you'll just kind of be able to use any pencil, really, because now I could pick up any one of these three and do a nice drawing, and it doesn't really matter anymore. So, hopefully that's where everything's headed. So yeah, thanks for listening, and I will see you guys next time.